Yeah, I think we're live now. Osage. Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Michael. Michael Awono. I can't see anybody in yet. I can see one viewer. You just say hi in the chat box. Hello everyone. My name is Michael. I can hear myself. Okay. Fix that. Okay, so once you come in, you could just leave a chat message and say hi. So we'll start from there. Okay, so this is VizSchool 3DSMAX webinar. And the aim for this webinar basically is to enlighten people. Because okay, where this started from, I started using 3DSMAX. Just going to go through some brief intro first. Started using it about 2 years back, and one thing that got to me was I went online one day to search for, in quotes, 3DSMAX, like artists in the world. And then I saw a number of, I call them forums, number of polls, and then there was never a mention of Africa. It was a problem to me. I'm from Nigeria, by the way. It was a problem to me because it was USA, it was Europe, it was Australia, you had South America, you had North America. And there was no mention of Africa. And so that day I kind of vowed in my mind that I was going to do something for, like, at least put the continent and hopefully the country on the map. I've been using 3DSMAX for 2 years now, and I've realized that I can't do it on my own. The growth has been steady in Africa, but it can't be faster. And that's where this comes in. The aim of this webinar basically is to teach people, to enlighten them. Let's put it that way. To enlighten them. Yeah, basically. I guess that's it. This is my first time, so pardon me. Okay, so basically, first they will. I'm doing an introduction to texturing. I've been using, like I said, I've been using it for about 2 years, and I've learned a bit. I've understood a bit. 1 second. Okay, so yes, 2 years, and what have I learned in 2 years? I've learned some things matter and some things don't. Not, they don't matter, but not as much as a number of people. A number of people think. Hello, Titila. Okay. Hello, Titi. I hope you see this. Okay, so yes, that's where. So this webinar basically is to just enlighten people. I've been fortunate to, in my short time, I've been fortunate to learn a few things. And that's what I'm trying to show here. Okay, so texturing, that's what we're looking at today. What is texturing? Basically, that's the application of materials to your models, the application of basically, when I say everything you see, what you see about them, what you see around them. What I understand in a project timeline, creation of visuals, you have the modeling stage. Hello, David. Okay, so you have the modeling stage, the lighting stage, texturing stage, rendering, post-production. Can you all hear me? Hello? Can everybody hear me? Okay, so yes, I'll continue. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. If you can hear me, you can just type say I in the chat message. So you have the modeling stage, lighting stage, texturing, rendering, and post-production. If I'm going to rate all of them on over 100%, I'll say lighting is about 40%. Now, a lot of people, I'm talking about Nigerians here, we prioritize the modeling stage, and in truth, that shouldn't be our priority. Why? Because it's easy to get models anywhere. Anybody could get models. So models and setting of your scene, they're not the most important factors in coming up with realistic images and visuals. Lighting is, in my opinion, and after lighting, you have texturing. Okay, and then after that, rendering. To me, rendering is like let's say the lowest of the lowest. I'll give it about 5% out of 100. But I've had a number of people come across to me and tell me, can you put me through on rendering and this and that? I'm like, or can you tell me your rendering setup? Yes, that's it. That's the question. Your rendering settings. And I tell them it doesn't matter because I use the same thing for every scene. I've been using the same thing for years now. It has not made me like that's not what made me who I am, or that's not what has generated the kind of visuals I come up with. Okay. So I'll just run through some pictures to just show you an idea of what I mean. This was me some months back. I'll call this phase one. I'm just going to show you exterior renderings for now. This was me some months back. I'll call this phase one. This is phase two. Obviously, this is better than the first one. It's a growth pattern for me. And then this is where I say about this was me a month back. This was me a month back. Now, the difference between these three, I would say there are two major differences. The models haven't changed. They're as good as they are, they're as wonderful as they are. So that means that's not the reason why phase three is better than phase one. The two major factors there are lighting and texturing. So that's why I'm going to address texturing today. Now, looking at interior renders, you can see the same thing here. The major things here, the models, yes, I've seen these models in a number of renders, and yes, they all look good, but there's always not everybody has used them well. Let me put it that way, in the sense that you could have them and still not have realistic renders. And then this one, you could just go around and see that it's the texturing that's made this scene what it is. The lighting, yes. The play of shadows, yes. The models, not so much. Yes, the lamps look beautiful, but it's beyond that. And then there's another one. Okay, this was just to show like play of light. It was during one of my previous training sessions. Okay, so now I'm taking us through. Okay, this was another view I did recently for an interior designer in Lagos, and you can see it's what's making. You can see the floor. You can see the dark wall at this edge, and what's making this scene what it is lighting and the texturing. Okay, so at this point, I believe we can. So if I just open up Max, 3DSMAX, I just open a new file. And ignore this. Okay, listen, I'm assuming. Okay, I hope I don't assume wrongly that most of the people watching this have an idea of how to work around 3DSMAX. This is not an intro to. Okay, yeah, this is an intro to subsets in 3DSMAX. So today we're just majoring on texturing. Okay, so I'm just going to run on the material editor. I'm going to create an example of the popular, like let's say let's start with the most common textures we come around that we see around us. Just vary material. I just list a number of them. Let's say glass. We're going to create them. So we're going to create glass. Just common materials. If you could think of other common materials. How do you unmute this? No. Okay, so glass. Then what else? What else is quite popular? Well, I would say, yeah, typical metals. Let's say brushed metals. Typical brushed metals. I'm just creating materials there. We're still going to go back to them and work with them properly. And then afterwards, which other one? Which other material is there? Just a typical wooden floor. Okay, so glass is as simple as it gets. Like, I could get a picture of glass online in a second. Glass is as simple as it gets. Ready? Okay. Okay, so this is an example of, let's say, glass. You can see this is like typical, let's say, typical window pane. It's transparent. That's one thing about it. It's refractive. It's also reflective. So just looking at the 3DSMAX interface, you can see we have the diffuse slot, we have the reflect slot, we have the refract slots. For glasses are like the main important things. So now, one thing I've learned is for materials that you can't see their diffuse. What is diffuse? Diffuse is basically the base material of anything, of an element of a technique. The base material. So now, for this glass, for typical glass, you can't see, you don't actually know the color of glass. I have to mute that. You don't actually know the color of glass. So that's where you just leave the diffuse as 0. Now, diffuse works between 0 is black, then 255, that's white. So if you have 255 in your red, green, and blue slots, so just typical RGB, you'll get white. And then when you have 0 in all of them, black. So just leave that as black. Now, window panes, their reflectiveness, they vary with different. There's no particular one that's, let's say, standard. They vary. So just have the reflect somewhere around here. But one thing unique to all of them is their refractiveness. They are almost fully refractive. So let's work with. Now the highest point there is 2.5, but when in truth, nothing is absolute. In the same way, nothing is fully black. Like light is nothing is fully white except light, and nothing is fully black except darkness, which is absence of light. So let's just work with 230 for refractiveness. Glass. forward to just show us how this out, and that's what we've created here. So just see how this impacts us. I'm just going to create a simple scene where we can see that. So create a plane in the top view, and I'll duplicate it. So we have like a, I'll rotate this. We have like a studio setup, sort of. Then I'll align this to this. If you have any questions, you can just type them on. I think you should be able to unmute your mic and speak out. I think we'll get to that point soon. So just place this around here. We can increase the width of this so we get more space. Okay, so that's, let's say, our basic scene. And then I'll just create a sphere. How am I doing that? So we have something now. This can help you. Yes, this update, this what I call it. Let's say an update shows you like the updates you get when you're working on your textures. But I'm creating this scene so we can see how
No
we have.
problem.
1 second.
I had to change this thing.
Yes.
Brake pad.
Hello, Mustafa. Mustafa. Okay. All right. Okay, so I will just align the sphere to that, and I can create replicas of them, a number of them. Get as many as number of textures you're trying to create. Okay, so let's just create a camera view. Okay, no, first, if we render this way, we're just going to have darkness. I'm going into more detail because I don't know how much people know. I don't know like the expertise level of the people listening. So I'm going to try to be as basic as I can get. I've just created a plain light. It's like a studio light. They call them bank lights. So it's just shining. Just going to show one direct, like just direct light at our textures. I'm going to replicate it at this edge. Yes, so we have that. And for this, I'll create a camera because if we render out the camera, then just the camera basically just takes the picture. The aim of what we're doing is to create visuals, let's say realistic visuals. That's my aim. So obviously you need something to take those things, and that's what the camera is for. So one way I create the camera, it's a nifty trick. I think it should be popular by now. So what I do is I get my perspective view. I've selected the camera. I'm just going to draw my camera in space anywhere. Control CC. This some years back, so I'm guessing a lot of people should know this. I met some people that don't, but I'm assuming those people know it now. So I'm just going to extend our background so we have more room to work with. I'll drag this one's forward. Okay, so this is what we are working with for now. So glass, I'm just going to apply the glass to that. To put on edge faces so it doesn't disappear from view. So that's our glass texture. Now brushed metal texture. Now what would we call brushed metal? We get a picture that we can work with. One second. Ball. Brushed metal ball. Awesome. One sec. Okay, so let's say this is brushed metal we're trying to achieve. Can't keep this on the screen, but you have an idea of what it looks like. So what we have here now, we have a diffuse that this is a very reflective metal. It's brushed satin metal, very reflective, but there's still a bit of glossiness to it. And then the major things I can notice is okay, the diffuse is not so obvious. So it's something really dark. So I'll say something as dark gray, possibly. And then the light, yeah, there's a direct, we already have our lights in the scene. And first let me render the glass so I have an idea of what we just did. So I'm just modifying the camera. Let's go back to it. Before I do this, I'll quickly create the render setup so we can work with that. So to remove that, so we don't need that. And that should work. Increase resolution of this. Yes. Oh yeah, one thing. Now, this basically this is not a texture, it's just green color. So I'm going to replace it with a generic material. A very generic material, so we don't have conflicts, and then things don't start crashing because of conflicting materials. Okay, so the glass. So once you render, then you can see with the glass. Let me try and edit the settings so we have something much brighter. Just increase this to 100. I'm increasing the multiplier for the light so the render can be better. Okay, so that's the glass. It's pretty straightforward. I don't believe anybody should have an issue with this. I'm sure that's not this. For the brushed metal. Okay, so for the brushed metal. So this is reiterating. This is what we're working with. This is what we're working with. Okay, so like I said, we can see the diffuse. We can see it's really reflective, but then the reflections are blurred, but not so blurred. But blurred to the extent that you can't see what's on the other side. You can't see it clearly. So the diffuse, I'm going to make it something really dark gray. I'm going to highlight this so we know what we're working with. Really dark gray. And then I'll make the reflections almost white. I'll leave it at 230. Now, glossiness. Now we're probably going to have to go back, take steps forward, take step back, because like a try and error thing, there's no fixed. There are no two materials that look exactly the same. So most times you have to create textures from scratch. So this now the glossiness, quite glossy. Not sure if this gets what we want. Not yet. Yeah, it's a start. Okay, now so the IOR of brushed metal. That's one. It's one thing I used to neglect. So it's one thing I used to neglect. A lot of people used to neglect. Mouse. 1 second. Okay, let me just get the IOR for that. So this is IOR. Now 1.6 is the index of refractive index. So the IR for glass is 1.6. Now for more solid materials, the higher you go, that's basically how the IOR works. So for metal, okay, can't find anything. Okay, aluminum has one of 0.11. No, that's 2.26. Let's work with that. So let's say 2.26. So there are some things we can see with this. Okay, what else? The reflections are stretched out. So if we go all the way down to the under just the slot, anisotropy. What anisotropy does is basically like if I effect the change here, you can see the highlights of the reflections start changing. So if I go lower to minus 0. anything, it starts stretching out. like reflections along shiny curved surfaces, like very reflective cars. Once you look at the curved areas, you can see the reflections, the highlights are stretched out. They are more blurred than on flatter surfaces. So that's similar to what we're having here. So I'm going to drag that out. I think it needs to be more blurred than it is right now. So go back here. Like I said, it's trial and error. So go back here and reduce this. It's a bit too much. Let's work with it at 0.8. So that has dragged out this one. Okay, let me apply it to the second ball. This is the stage you've gotten to. For now. What we have here until we get to some other level. Okay, so one thing that's there's some now a lot of people, what they do, they just have a metals. Like when I say a lot of, I mean around myself. One thing they do is they just apply diffuse, apply reflections, and then they move on. Now textures go way deeper than that. You need to apply bump maps, like textures, actual textures, to have more realistic effects. That's what happened when I went with these images. That's what happened from this stage. I went to this stage. I'm at this stage right now. Yes, yeah, somewhere around this right now. So it's a period of, the more you, like I tell people, the more you observe, the more you can observe your surroundings, the better you get with the softwares. So if we have a map that can simulate what we're having here right now. Okay, get one that work for us. Yes, I've seen one that we could use. And I refuse to load. Okay. Yes, this. So you can see the effect you have on this texture. Now, I'm sure it's possible to get that on, probably have this effect, like creating it on Max itself, but honestly, I haven't got to that level. I'd rather just work with textures and move on. So I'm going to apply this texture. Like what this has now, it has very little bump. What is bump? Let me show you the effects, or what I mean by bump, and why textures are very important. Okay, so let's take the map I just downloaded, and I'll put it in the bump map. I just dragged it to the bump map. Okay, this is what we're having. Now, this is a start. We have the shape somewhat, but we have, the lines are not actually distorting the reflections as much as this. So that means the bump has to go down. So we just work on this and probably go down about 5. That's, you can still go lower than that. Yes, but what you can see is that it's impacting more on the reflections. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in the reflex map. It's almost the same thing as pasting it in here. Okay, so now we have that in the reflect map. I'm going to copy that and paste it in the reflect glossy map. If you're doing it from down here, it's this one, this particular map here. Okay, so what glossiness, what glossiness does is like it blurs out the reflections. It's that simple as that. Those are reflections. Most times, if you're using the same maps, you need you need to invert the glossiness map to have a better effect on the reflections of the texture you're creating. So you can see the effect that has had just by inverting it. Simply just by inverting it. Okay, I quite noticed something. Yes, but this really has to go down further. Okay, so if you check that out. What I think we're a bit further from what we're going. But at least we have This is still where we're going. I think we're in the right direction. So now, what the errors I can see in this, yes, the reflections are there, but it's not as what's the word? It's more blurred than it should be. So just go back to this, and I'll reduce the reflective glossiness. Let's reduce it to half of what it is right now. Reflections will become more, like they become more obvious because we're reducing the blurriness in it. Go down further. Okay, let's see what that gives us. 1 second. Just going to crop out that view and work with just that so we can increase it. Not. Now that's it. Okay, so I can hear myself. Okay, yes, so we're getting along the way. Now, one thing missing that I did not notice initially is this is almost chrome. Almost chrome. What I mean by chrome, that's metals that like now Fresnel under the reflect map you have Fresnel reflections. Basically what Fresnel reflections what it does is it how do I describe it? It creates realistic reflections. Now an object that does not have Fresnel reflections, an example, perfect example is a mirror. It's a mirror. So with an object that has it on it, so it's like if you look at this particular work, you see the glass there. Yes, there are reflections on it, but it's also refractive. Now, when there's no Fresnel, then it's fully reflective. It's just going to be like a mirror. And in a way, that's similar to what we have here. So if I turn off reflective Fresnel reflections here, you can see the effects that in here. So let's render and see if we're closer. So I think this is closer to the image we're trying to achieve. It's still some way to go, but yeah. So I think that's close enough to where we started from. Now, the concept, the reason why I could get this is simple. It's just a system of observing. That's why I've gotten. That's how I've gotten better.
So,
Yes.
can you hear me?
1 second. 1 second.
Okay. Have you clicked the link from Archiplus Design?
I think okay. Yeah, I think that's fine. I've just muted him. Okay, so now I hope you understand how we came up with this, with the texture, the brushed metal texture. So let's try another one. Basically, what I'm just doing, I can't teach all the textures. I can't teach how to create all of them, but I will be able to put us through and just help you see my workflow. I'll like see it through my eyes. The way I work, before I work on a space, I look at something like before I work on a space, you must get inspiration. I call them like, yes, that's why I call it inspiration. I have a folder, I call it inspiration folder. Let me see if I can show you that. I call it the inspiration folder. So basically, it has a lot of works I would like to achieve. So if I'm working in the bathroom, I'm working on bathrooms, I have folders like that, bedrooms, folders like that. Yeah. So exteriors, all of that. What this does is it helps me. Let's say it helps me. It gives me something to work with. That's what I always tell people. Say you have people come to me and tell me, okay, I'm trying to achieve this, and I say, okay, where have you seen it being done? Because if you can't see it, you can't actually create it. Okay, so next let's create a wooden floor. I think we'll work on 3 textures, and then we're going to see how they can impact in an actual scene before we run out of time. Okay, so wooden textures. Let me look for something we can work towards. Okay, let's say work with parquet floor. Just going to get an image. that we can work with. So now, because it's a wooden texture, definitely we're going to be working with a texture in a diffuse map. So that's, I would say that's perfect, because like they're like what we've done. I've gone like 3 stages. First, with glass, no maps were involved. There are situations where maps will be involved, where you have them like irregularities in the glass, or you have smudges on it, or you have scratches on it. Then you could bring in maps there, like maps in the bump maps and reflective maps. Now, with this, we used a diffuse, and then we had maps in the reflective and glossiness map slots. Now, with this wood, we're going to be using textures all around. Okay, so I've gotten type of texture we can work with, and let's create this. Yes, laminate flooring. As you can see, it's typical wooden floor. It has its bumps, but also has its reflections. It's very reflective, but it's blood, and it also has its bumps. So now I'll get a texture that we can work with. 1 second. And drag out one. I wish I could put on the mics for everybody. I think I'll do it like probably after this. If anybody has questions. Okay, let me just get tiles, wooden tiles. Okay, work with. I should now have parquet flooring. You know, yeah, it might take me a while to get the parquet floor. So let's just work with this one. So what this is. Let's work with this. Okay, so the aim is to go from this to this. Good. So this is the bottom texture, like let's say the diffuse, the base texture we're working with. So I'll drag it to the diffuse slot. This is it in the basic form. So now, for ones that are more technical, I'll just go straight down to the map slots, because then it's easier to control from there. Okay, so the first things first, we're looking at this ones. Of course, that's the bump maps. That's the bump maps. Then it's reflective. I'm just calling characteristics of the floor. Bump maps, reflective, and the reflections are blood. You know, reflection glossiness. Now, me being able to break these things down, help you analyze where you're going to make changes on marks. Because if you, like I said, if you can't see and observe, it's harder to achieve it. Okay, so the first thing is the bump map. Okay, let's assume I have just one texture. Many times you're going to download, going to get textures online, and they come with bump maps, glossy maps, and all of that. Many times, especially when we're working on real life projects, you don't have that luxury. So I'm not going to go to Photoshop to start editing textures. So this is how we can work with them from here. So I'm just going to copy this. Let's copy the base texture and paste it in bump map. If you have 2 screens, I think it's possible for you to work alongside myself. I could upload whatever I've done here so you can look at them later. Okay, so now from if you can notice where you see the bump map has already affected the change. If I put this off and put it back on, you can already see the bumps along the edges. They are more obvious along the edges. Put it off and back on. Now, in reflections and light works between white and black. So if I put a color, but some items have colored reflections. Example is gold. Gold reflects, in quotes, golden reflections. So now what we're going to do here is I'm going to copy this same map. I'm paste it in the reflect slots. So I might be getting a bit, for people that haven't used this before, I might get a bit technical. It's not so technical. You can get the hang of it once. So I'll just open this and go deeper into where I can edit the bitmap. Now, one thing I always advise people to do is once you're working on a like textures, reduce the blur effect here. Reduce 0.5 or something, because what happens is once your textures start getting from the camera, 3DSMAX starts blurring them out. So sometimes it works if you're not going, but if you need as much detail as possible, you should try to reduce it. So now this is texture I'm working with. If you've used Max before, you know this function is showing the end result, but I want to see the texture itself. So now I've just pasted this in the reflection. So it's going to be giving me reflections of this, will I say, of this color. And I do not want that. I just want it to be between white and black. White means it's fully reflective. Black means that's white as extreme, like white, and black means no reflections at all. So I'm going to apply a color correction. What I've just done is I've clicked on bitmap, and now under standard, I'll apply a color correction to the bitmap. But since I'm applying it to the bitmap, I'm going to keep the old map as submap. It's pretty straightforward stuff. So down here, make sure you use advanced. Why? Because using standard is not so, it's not as accurate. It's not accurate actually. It's not accurate. It just distorts your images. So I'm just going to use advanced. Now, advanced gives me more options. I could control the red, green, blue effects of the textures. I could reduce the saturation. I could change the hue of the texture. So, okay. So what I'm trying to do now is I want to convert the reflection map to a black and white texture. So all I have to do is just go to the saturation and drag it all the way. Same thing. So I just drag it all the way. And that's what you have. Yeah. So then now you can see the reflections along. You can follow my mouse, mouse, what do you call it? Whatever tracker. You can see the reflections along the edges of the texture. So we're going back here. So this, at least for now, depending on what we're working with, so this is very reflective. I think it should be more, but let's continue working for now. Remember, this is what we are trying to achieve. So next, I'm going to copy this same map and paste it in the glossiness section. Now, because it's 100, like 100% also, it's going to like blow out all the reflections, like make them like math like a math material. But one way to make it, because I want, now what we're having now is we're having glossiness white affecting reflections white, but I want them to contrast each other. So how do I achieve that? I'm going to invert the glossiness map. So this is the map. Note I've just copied this, so it still has the color correction in it. And I copied copy, not copied instance. I duplicated copy, not instance. So now any changes I make to this does not affect the reflection map. So I'm going to copy this and then paste it back. Why? So I can have a duplicate. Initially it was map 17. So now once I go back, you see this will be map 14. So now it doesn't, so any changes I make to this does not affect the original. I'm just going to click this, come down here and invert the map. So now as you can see from here, take it back. So basically the darker parts have become the lightest parts and the lighter parts have become darker parts. So basically that's just me inverting. So once you go back here, you can see the effect it has on the reflections. Now, like I said, this is what we're working with. It's very reflective, but it's really blurred also. So now I want to have more reflections on this. So I'm just going to go to color correction. I'm going to come all the way down here. Now, the contrast. So the darker it gets, the more contrast I have in the scene. So if I reduce this 0.5, you can already see the effect here. But I want more reflections because the more it gravitates towards white, the more reflections we get. The more it goes towards black, the less we get. So I'm going to go up to about 1.5. So can you see it's going to give us more reflections? Let me just go back and forth. So you can see the changes it has affected. Okay, so to further see how this works, we need to see it on a flat surface. Because what we have here now is a flat surface. So we can't exactly use what will I call it? We can't exactly use a spherical object to get it. So let's apply this texture to the plane. Apply it to the plane. I want to make sure it's not stretched out, because right now it is stretched out. So I'm going to apply a UV map to the plane. If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat message. I think we could put on our mics. I can unmute them once I'm done with this. So I'm just going to apply a UV map to it. Something has been shaky with my this. What happened? 1 second. Something is wrong. Something is off. Sorry. Trying to fix something. Can't quite figure out what's wrong right now. It might take me a while to get it. So let's try to render just what we have now. Let me also put it on the background so we can see it everywhere. Just to prevent us from having this center selection. And let me increase the area this is rendering. Okay, so that's the floor. Once it completes, you'll see what we've come up with. Okay, it's still not as reflective as, although there are reasons why it might not be as reflective as this image. First reason is the farther the image gets from you, the more reflective it gets. And this is directly facing the light. So let's set up a camera scene that will be facing the light. Our light is coming from that direction. So let's set up one this way. I'll just create the same I created last camera, the first camera. This and this. Render this. Now that's how reflective it is. Sorry about that. Okay, it's going to take a while to render. Okay, but as that's rendering, before we come back to hope you understand how I was able to. Okay, so you can see the floor. The light is really bright actually. You can see the floor, you can see this is where textures are really, really important. It's working along the grain of the wood. A situation where you did not use a texture. Now let me show you the effect of not using that. So I'm going to reduce this area so we do not waste time. I'm going to reduce this. Actually, let's make it really small. Let's render this. So I have something we can work. So once this is done, I'm going to create similar texture, but then I'll use just color as I'll use only color for the reflection and refraction maps. And you will see the effect it has on the texture itself. Okay, I think I'll move from here so we don't waste time. Yes, I'll just stop that. Then in my history window, I would save this image. So this is the first one. Now, just go back to the texture. This is what we created. I'm going to copy this. No. So I'm going to copy this. and paste it, paste copy. So now we're trying to create, I'm trying to do like not use textures here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this off, put off all the maps, and then just apply reflect as this. To further highlight the issues we have, let's put up the bump. So you can see the difference in textures. This is just flat. Yeah, it's wood, but it's just flat. If I render it now, oh no, sorry, I haven't applied it. So if I apply it to this, if I render it now, you can see the difference in this. Okay, you can see the effect in that and the other one. So if I just stop this and bring this back here, so you can see the difference. Now, all this is just simple observation. Just observe and then try to do better. It's just very simple with textures. Once you get the hang of the textures, it's just easy to go all the way. And you can see down here, it's much more realistic along the edges. The bumps are much more obvious. The reflections are much more realistic rather than just a plain flat object. Yes. Okay, so that's that. Is there any other peculiar objects you can create? Now let's try creating some sort of plastic. I have an image in mind. Let me get something. 1 second. Okay, let's create something like this. Yes, this is going to be a challenge because there are a lot of things going on the object itself. So you can see from here, we can see, okay, yes, it's a dull material. It's also wood. It's dull. Well, the bumps are, yeah, there are bumps on it. There are scratches on it. There are bumps, there are scratches, there are dents. So they're like different, let's call it different complications to it. So now, the way we're going to address this, we're going to have the diffuse first. We're going to sort out the reflection. We're going to sort out the reflection glossiness. Then we're going to sort out the scratches. Sort out the scratches, we sort out the bumps. Yes, basically all of that. So I'm going to look for another texture that we could work with. I just call this I don't know, old wood. Okay, so let's get one texture that we can work with. I believe let's try using this. Okay, so I'm going to apply this to this. And that's the texture we're working with. It's much more different from that's what we're working with. And this is where we are headed. So now, if you notice this, the scratches here, they don't follow the bumps in the wood. It's like it's really old. It's a bowling. They're bowling balls. They don't follow the balls like constant barraging and like wear and tear. So that's what we're going to do here. But first, you can still see the bumps along what was there initially. Okay. So now this is what we're working with. The first things to work out there. Just copy this to the bump map. It's very similar to what we did here. We're just going to go deeper. Okay, so I've copied this here. You can already see the bump. It's not that obvious because in truth, the bump of the original wood material, it's not as serious as the dent in it. Okay, so afterwards, just create reflections and all of that. It's very blurry. Okay. You can see, okay, the texture itself is quite dark. So if you look at the edges, the reflections are there, but because the texture is quite dark, it's barely anything. So I have to increase this, apply color corrections like we did earlier. Come down here, advanced, and then increase this to 2 there. I'm gonna have to take some of this to Photoshop. So now we see we have, it's more reflective compared to the other one, compared to before we made the changes. So we'll copy and paste this here. Like I said, we'll have to invert this. All I just did was copy and paste in the same slot. So we have like another material there. So I've inverted it. And we'll go back here. We have this. Now, okay, now, so once we look at this one, now, of course, after years and years, it has gotten duller, so it's not as reflective as it used to be. So that's the first thing we look at. Reduce reflections in it. Reduce reflections in it. You know what? Let's 1 second. Let's try this without inverting it. Now we have to actually just trying out stuff. Okay, so we're going to take this down because glossiness itself is not absolute, like the reflection. We still have a lot of it, so I might have to make this darker because it's really bright. So we're having very little glossiness. There's no dark parts to contrast the lighter parts. So let's reduce this to 0.75 thereabouts. Go lower. Yes, so I have more parts to that. Am I supposed to go lower or higher? Sorry. So this should go lower. Okay, let's look back at what we're trying to achieve. This is what we're trying to achieve. The reflections are not shining, they're more matte. So reflection has to go down also. Like I said earlier, this like sequence of trial and error until that should come down. Sorry, say 60. It's even okay, maybe I made this too bright. Let's make that super. Let's go closer to the reflection. Nope. Something is off here. Sorry. No, it's still quite shiny. And I want to eliminate that from it. You know what? Maybe I shouldn't have inverted it. Shouldn't have inverted it. So let's go lower. Anybody has questions, you can just type them in chat box. I think you should be able to unmute your mic. Yes. Okay, so that's as much as what we're trying to achieve, but let's come lower. And I believe we can keep reducing it because I cannot understand why that did not go. So this has to come up alongside that to make it blurred. Sorry. Okay, so we're getting closer and closer to the dull reflection we currently have here. Dull reflection we currently have here. Let's increase this a bit. It should come up. No. I just made a mistake again. Yes, thereabouts. You just leave that 32.5 in between that and that. Let's have something like this. Now, we need to start bringing in the bumps and all of that. Okay, so we're going to use V-Ray blend material. We've basically V-Ray blend material that is blends different textures together. You can take two different textures, blend them together. Now what we have here, where you have the dents and you have the scratches on the same material. So what we're going to do is we'll come here and create a V-Ray blend material. I will keep the old material as a sub material. So what we're going to create a new V-Ray material, and I'll bring in texture that I can use to create the, let's say, the distortions we all have on that. Okay, let's see what we can do with this texture. I'm going to bring this texture in right now. You know what we need? We don't need the texture in a diffuse map. We actually need more of the bump qualities. So if I bring this in here.
But I better drink your water now.
What?
Eh?
Mute.
When you both.
Osage, please mute your mic.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so copy this and paste it in the bump map. I'm going to put this off because we actually don't need the map. All we need is what's beneath it, basically. So once you come back out here, you can see the effect it's having on the.
Dami, can you come again?
Sorry, I didn't get you.
Can you come again with that? What you did there in that? I got lost.
Well, you mean the blend material?
Yes, with the blend material.
Okay, so let me retrace my steps. Let me just go back.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so now we have the base material. We have the base material that's without the scratches and without the dents. So now I just got a texture that we used to create that. Where is it? Where's the texture? 1 second. That's this one. Now this has dents and all of that and scratches. So what I'm going to do is I'll create V-Ray blend material. Now blend material, what it does is that you blend different materials together. You have a base material and then you join the rest to it. Like you have a base material, that's what we have now. And then you can then add other materials to bring in the bumps and the dents and all of that. To like when the bumps are different from your original material. Like imagine you have a metal that's rusted. So now you need rust. You need to create rust material as a different material, then blend it with the original, as I'm trying to do here. Okay, so this is me blending it now. So I'll create the V-Ray material and create what we have here. Okay, so I'll drag that texture. I hope you get now, David. Because I'll drag this texture in here. I don't need it in diffuse slots, and I don't need diffuse to impact whatever I'm doing. So I'm going to remove this. Let me confirm if that works. Yes, I'm going to remove that. Now blend amount. The more you increase this, oh no, sorry. Yeah, the more you increase, the more effect it has on what you're doing. Okay, so I think we might just have to leave that as gray also. Okay, so now you know this scratches themselves. If you look at these original textures, they also have they also impact the reflections, the scratches, the dents, all of that. So you need to treat it like it's a different material on its own. I'm just going to copy this, paste in reflect slots. But what we have now is this. So I'll do exactly what I did before to make it black and white, color correction. So it's easier for me to control it and reduce the saturation. So I have this. And I end up having, that's reflection, sorry. Yes, let me take this, let me make this darker a bit. So it's more obvious. So if you can look around this area, you can see the reflections. What it has done is, like I said, black and white. So the white parts have become the reflective parts, the more reflective parts than the darker areas. So if I go, I copy this and I copy to the glossiness map. So it has already blurred out the reflections. Let me show you the effect. If I take this now, take this original map, come over here and invert it. You can see it's more reflective. Even it's not so obvious because of the base material, but it's more reflective than the earlier one because why? Most of its areas are white compared to black. So now this we have this thing. I should invert this. So just same thing. Okay, no, this is already the way it is. That's how we have this actually. So I have to invert this. So I'll just copy and paste in the same slot. Go back here and invert. Yes, now that's that. But I don't need it to be this strong. So all I'll just do is go back. This is the glossy map slot. I reduce the effects so it's not glaring. Yes, I think we're making headway. Now you must note that the scratches and everything, they can't overshadow the true material itself. So this reflection cannot be as much as this. So let's drag this down to 75, maybe lower. This needs to go down to because the reflections are not sharp. Oh, sorry, mistake. Oh, sorry, 1 second. This shouldn't be inverted. So when I lower, I go. I don't even understand what I did. Okay, what I've just done is that I reversed it. So if I'd inverted it, I'd have had to go higher to have less reflections. Okay, actually, let me just do it that way. Let me invert it. So I have to go higher. We can't go because of percentage. It's a percentage. Probably have to still work with that. Okay, so let's go lower. Have blood reflections. Yes, so I think this works. So when you bring it here, you can see it's impacting, but then now the color is affecting this one. We do not need to affect that. Come in. There's a way to control it for you. One second. I need to control this. Yes, if I reduce that. So now you can see the other. I wish I could rotate this. You know what? Let's apply it to something and render. Apply it to this. I'll click this and just create a camera view from this. Let's see. Use white. I said, sorry, make this generic material. Sorry, these are working. Okay, but just use this to gauge how far I've gone. These are not as obvious as I want them to be. Okay. Yes, let's go back to this. Come on, 1 second. I need to figure out how to blend them properly. Blend amount. Like reduce this. How much more is it? Only blend material. No. No, I'm missing something. Sorry, 1 second. I'm missing something. Let me figure out. Let me find myself first. Okay, yeah. I think it has made. Okay, this is actually quite very similar to what we have there. Okay, but come. Yes, I think that's better. So now we're okay. Let me just run you back through why did it get to this stage. Okay, so this is what we're working with. In the end, it's still actually apparently diffuse is going to impact on the final amount. So if we add a texture that had a similar texture, say a similar texture to the original one we're working with, then it would have been easier to work with that. But we do not have that. So that we have to just contend with black. Let me change that and make it dark gray. No, that's black. That's what's doing is that it's making this texture darker. Okay, so blend amount. This blend amount controls how much. Oh no, you have to. If I remove this map, sorry, no, undo please. Yes, this right now this blend amount controls how much effects. Clear. It controls how much effects the coat material has on the base material. Basically, this is like having let me give a scenario. Like, so like I said, between white and black, so the more white you have, the more reflective, the more refractive, the more effects, the more whatever effect you're trying to do you have. So now that we have white, the coat is overshadowing the base material. But if you leave it somewhere around here, if you go closer to black, that overshadows that. Like the base material overshadows the coat material. Well, now what I've done is I've pasted the map. And by pasting the map, it's like using a map instead of a color, like using it instead of a diffuse. So then what's the word? The map then controls how they work with each other, how they impact each other. Basically. So if now you could have various other elements. You could have various other elements. So this same thing with the map. This is a multiplier for the map. So you could have various other elements. You could merge another, like an element that has scratches to this and blend it with this. So if we render this now, where we started, which is what texture? So now you can see this one has, it's more stained in quotes. It has more bumps. We don't have the scratches yet, so let's create one for just scratches. Remember, the two textures we've used are, I didn't remember the first one. First one was this. This is where we started working from. And we're at this point now. So basically, it's just like having, close this. Just like having wood that's older and that's, as in quotes, seen life. Yeah. Okay, so let's bring in scratches. Because right now, what this one has given us, it gave us a bit of scratches, but it's not as obvious as I would like it to be. Maybe it is. But then let's try to see if we can make, I can like go deeper on this texture and make it more realistic in quotes. Okay, so this is what we're working with. So now I'm going to look for another texture we could use to blend with that. This is more of rust. I don't think we can work with this. More rust. Sorry, no, same thing. Oh, I think we can just stop at here for this. Okay, let's compare them to, let's compare to where we wanted to go. Sorry. Okay, now so this has, I think we've lost. No, I think it's still right. The reflections are still right. They're very similar. The blood areas that are actually very similar. We don't have as much dents as this does. We don't have a map that can give us that. That's why we don't have as much dent as this does. But the scratches, well, if you look at the render, we have a lot of irregularities. If you compare it with, this is not where we're coming from. This, we have a lot of irregularities. So basically, it's like we've merged. Sorry. Like we've merged this plus, we merged this plus this to arrive at this. So you could go as deep as you want with texturing, Max. It just depends on how much you understand it and how much you're willing to, like how much time you're willing to give to it. But the good thing about it is that the more you use it, the faster you get at it. The same that happens to everything on Max. The more everything in life, the more you use stuff, the more you get used to it, and then at the point it just becomes like clockwork. You just do something, you're just trying to make a texture look bad, and it's just automatic. You don't have to stress yourself, you just do it once. So basically that's what I've achieved here. So I want to see how this, if I go to the other camera, no, that was true. Yes, I just want to apply what I've created here to this. So you can see there are a lot of bumps on the final material. Okay, one other thing you could do with materials is displacement. Now I don't advise people to use displacement because it increases render time like exponentially. But there's some areas where you have no choice but to use it. Like assuming you're creating some materials that have like real disfigurations. Like imagine if you're creating a floor, like example, like a floor like this, and you want to create the bumps, and then you do not have, you're not using like a plugin that controls that. You're going to have, it won't be as easy as just using, if you had a plugin, it'll be straightforward. If you had bump will work to an extent. But if you don't have that, then displacement is your best bet. Let me show an example of how the effects of displacement. So you just create a new texture. I'm going to go back to camera 1. I'll create a new texture and I'll use let's work with this. So I'm just going to take that map and drop it in the diffuse slot, and I'll attach it to that. So that's what we have without anything yet. So let's just make it as simple as possible, like plastic or something. Give the reflection a bit of glossiness to it. So when I render it, This is what we get. Now, if you put the bump map, if you put this in the bump map, you get that. What the bump map does is the lighter parts come forward, like the, what's the word, the extrude, and the darker parts recess. That it gives you that illusion. That's what bump maps do. But okay, to control it better, like always, I'll just copy this. Okay, it's copied already. So I'll just create the color correction so I can see exactly the difference. That's white and black. So that's that. That's what we've turned it to right now. So if I go on here, if I go on here and I invert it, what you get then is the yellow would recess and the black would extrude, because now the black is now white. So that's how it works. That's what bump does. Now displacement, all I have to do is copy this map, put in the displacement slot. Then for the object itself, I'll apply a displacement map to it. That's displace. Now drag this to this instance. Come in, if I render it first, and this is what displacement does to it. Creates actual on the renders. Displacement. There are times when this would be very, very useful. Subdivisions to make it smoother. Right. So you can see the reason why black has comfort, like I said, is if you go down here, it's white. So if I go back and I change this and I put off, invert it backwards. So if you render this now, black recesses. That's as simple as displacement. So if you have small scenes or you have areas where you just need to use it, if you're using it on like now a lot of things trying to displace, and if your system is not, it'll take you forever. This now the dirty one, might not be, I'm probably being I'm probably exaggerating. Yeah, but so that's an idea of how it works. I think we've covered most of texture in this night. I think it was a time now it's 8:24. We're supposed to round by 8:30. So basically what I've just tried to do is just show you in truth, in quote, anything is possible. So far you can observe it. If you can observe it, you can create it. So that's what the aim of this webinar. The aim of webinar, because if you look at foreign, let me open my inspiration folder in quotes, and you can look at some of their works. They have like really amazing works. Like this is one project that inspires me every single time, because there's so much detailing. Now the models are not crazy. If you check out the model, yeah, of course the model is really good, but there's very high possibility that we have this kind of models over here in Nigeria. But what differentiates us, like I stated earlier, are these two features, lighting and texturing. I believe we waste so much time on modeling and scene setup and rendering itself that we neglect these two, and the two most important features. So that's what I aim to try to like address with these tutorials. By next week, I'm looking at lighting itself, because that's actually my favorite. That's actually what I like working with the most because lighting gives me joy. Let me just leave it at that. So next week, I'm not talking right now. Next week we'll be looking at introduction to lighting. We're just going to go in depth on lighting, what works where, why it works that way, and all of that. So I want to thank you for being on this call and listening to me. This is my first time doing so. I think it's been seamless for now. So thank you very much. I don't know if you guys can unmute your mic and say something. Probably if you learned something important. I think
Thanks.
David,
Yeah.
Hello, David.
Yeah, thanks for the lecture. I really learned a lot of new things. Well, it was really challenging for me to follow up because I didn't really have your files that you were using.
Oh, okay. I know I would upload them. I'll upload them and share.
Okay, yeah. Before next lesson, maybe we can have like a Dropbox file that we can use as work files.
Okay.
For the seminar. So we're all doing the same things together.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. It's okay.
This designer, is this Annie?
Yes, Destiny. Maybe can you help her unmute her mic? I'm not sure she can hear us.
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm trying to do that. I can't. I think she has to do from my end. That's do from my end.
Oh. Will the video be uploaded to your YouTube account or something?
Yes, it should be saved there. If it's not, then I'll upload it.
All right, no problem.
All right then. So I think this has been fun for me. Hopefully I should do more of this. I used to think it was a big deal, honestly, but it's not that much of a big deal because it's just basically teaching what I know. And I've actually learned more stuff because there's some points during this stuff where I was like, oh my god, like now I'm stuck. Just find a way to get around it. So it's a learning experience for I think all of us, myself inclusive. So I think hopefully we see you same time, same place next week.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good night.
Good night.